I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
For weeks, the WNBA's theme song was the same brutal rhythm. Caitlin Clark getting hacked, bumped, hip-checked, and slammed while league officials sat in silence, sucking in air and saying zilch. Fans erupted online. Studio panels offered polite shrugs and moved on. The signal couldn't be louder. Figure it out yourself, rookie. Then, out of nowhere, boom, the silence exploded. Not because the WNBA finally acted, but because the loudest voices in basketball history jumped in. Steph, LeBron, Luka, over 6 NBA All-Stars in total. This wasn't some sanitized, PR-polished support. It was pure, boiling frustration hurled across the hoops world. A thunderclap of honesty that echoed from coast to coast. Normally, NBA stars keep their compliments in-house. A retweet here, a post-game quote there, and it's back to business. But Pascal Siakam broke tradition, live on air. Asked the softest question imaginable: who's getting the most love in basketball? He skipped every NBA name and lit the fuse. Honestly, it's Caitlin Clark. The love around her is ridiculous. Sit with that for a second.
Oh man, Caitlin she's a beast, man. Like, and they love her. So I'll probably say Caitlin Clark. I love Tyrese, but she's another level in terms of just the love that she has.
He didn't stack her up against that other NBA rookies. He compared her to Tyrese Halliburton, his own all-star point guard teammate, and still gave her the crown. That's not a favor, that's facts. Clark has smashed through the invisible barrier that used to divide their league from the league, and Siakam just signed her visa. Obi Toppin isn't the type to drop headline soundbites. His game speaks in dunks, not deep takes, which is exactly why his response hits different. No filters, no rehearsed lines, just wide-eyed, genuine respect.
Yeah, Caitlin's amazing. Super amazing. She's a great player. Having her be courtside and watching our games is awesome. We see the excitement that she has on the sides, but just like she's doing that, we do the same. Like when they're playing, like it's so much. It's a joy to watch.
That's parody at its rawest. No pecking order, no women's basketball asterisk, just hoopers seeing hoopers. When mid-tier NBA players speak like that, it's clear the culture has already shifted beneath the court. Sharing a city in Indianapolis gives Halliburton a front-row seat to the whirlwind surrounding Clark. He watches the swarm of autograph hounds, the blinding flashes, the constant noise, and her stone-cold poise through it all. Look, he told reporters, there's Bron, Steph, Jokic, and Caitlin. She's top 5 most famous in the sport, period.
She's, I think for me, getting to actually spend time around her, be around her, get to know her personally, she's just an amazing person, an amazing player. She deals with a lot. There's a lot of rhetoric behind her that she really has no control over, and I think that the way she handles that is just amazing. Like, I think when it comes to the game of basketball, like, she's probably top 5 most famous people that are playing right now, just in general. That includes our league as well.
He wasn't being dramatic. TikTok, ESPN, airport terminals, morning talk shows, pick a screen, she's there. Halliburton's empathy says it all. He's lived the weight of being an NBA franchise cornerstone, and still, he thinks she's carrying the heavier load. That kind of perspective hits deeper than any highlight reel. When LeBron speaks, entire media ecosystems shift course. He could have played it safe with a casual nod. Instead, he zoomed out to the big picture. She's drawing attention. They're flying private now. Let's celebrate that. Translation: Clark's not just playing. She's fast-tracking structural change that's been 27 years in the making.
Because everybody is looking for you to say anything, and they're gonna splice it and cut it and make it a negative thing. And I think for her, the one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. They flew private. That should be celebrated in his own right.
LeBron's seen this story before, because he was the story in 2003. He knows what it means to pull an entire industry into a brighter, richer future. His praise didn't just sound respectful, it sounded personal, even protective. The message between the lines was clear. Don't fumble this league. Guard your golden ticket. Ask a pure shooter how he salutes another, and the answer's simple. Lace him up. Trae Young, a guy who lives for logo threes, even admitted he'd need extra reps to keep up with Clark in a televised shootout. The stat they both own, only 2 college players ever to lead the nation in points and assists, connects them for life.
You were hype about Steph and Sabrina. I know that you have spoken about Caitlin Clark. You're a big Caitlin Clark fan.
Oh, yeah.
She, of course, is an excellent shooter. Would you ever do like a Caitlin Trae 3-point contest at All-Star?
Of course I would. I've gotten to talk to her too throughout her college years. We're the only 2 people that ever led college in points and assists. That's a crazy stat. I'd have to definitely practice a lot more than I have for these previous 3-point competitions. Nah, I'd be ready for sure. I'd do it.
Young's lighthearted challenge wasn't just cute banter. It was a peer-to-peer nod that Clark's form, rhythm, and confidence deserved the same neon spotlight as his. Fans would line up for that showdown, and the brands are already circling. Paul George is that rare star who can zoom out without sounding like a lecture. His takes slice through the noise. Look, vets spent years battling in half-filled arenas. Then, a rookie shows up and becomes the headline. It's natural some folks might feel some type of way. He wasn't excusing the hits.
You gotta put it in perspective, right? These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. They've been grinding to grow the sport to the world, the viewerships. They've been grinding for all of this. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change. She's handed pretty much being the face of the league. There's going to be girls that are offended by that.
He was breaking down the human pushback that comes with sudden shifts. In just 3 sentences, he celebrated Clark's rocket ascent while giving credit to the trailblazers who paved the road she's now blazing down. That nuance is why his words echoed across podcasts for a full news cycle. A reporter lobbed Luka Doncic a softball. Who's your favorite women's player?
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like Paige Buchers?
No, she's okay. I didn't see her playing in the women's NBA. So.
Luka didn't hesitate. Caitlin Clark. No qualifiers, no soft landings. For a guy whose own rise from Euro prodigy to NBA star bent time and expectations, that kind of direct answer spoke volumes. He measured her by the toughest standard, pro-level impact today, and she passed with ease. That's the kind of stripped-down praise you hang on a wall. Steph saw the hits she took. He broke down her film moment by moment. Then he tossed the diplomatic script straight out the window.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
Boom. Straight up. From the guy who redefined the shape of the court itself. That line was equal parts warning and manifesto.
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And it hurt just confidence out of you can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer. It's crazy though, just because her shot is like that. It's at that level. If you really watch, like her floor game is as impressive. So it's kind of the total package.
He followed with precision. Same release speed, same limitless range, same flair for the dramatic. Then he dropped the hammer. She's the total package. And Curry doesn't hand out compliments lightly. His nod turned Clay into a legend and Jordan Poole into a millionaire. Calling Clark a kindred spirit? That's legacy-level endorsement. The momentum briefly stalled when Jason Tatum brushed off the WNBA question with a 7-word shrug.
Favorite WNBA player? Asia Wilson.
Respect to Wilson's dominance, but Tatum's silence, his unwillingness to even say Clark's name, felt intentional. Same vibe when Kevin Durant got asked about his favorite female athlete and responded with, Reese is talented, no doubt, but with Clark's record-breaking season, Katie's pick landed like a subtweet made flesh. 2 megastars declining to elevate her echoed the exact tension Paul George hinted at. Not everyone's ready for the new hierarchy. And, ironically, that reluctance only magnifies Clark's disruptive force more than any glowing soundbite could. Step back from the opinion avalanche, and the numbers speak volumes. Games moved to NBA arenas, still sold out, TV ratings up 400% from last year, merch flying so fast, Nike can't keep Iowa Gold in stock. Charter flights got greenlit mid-season because watching a generational talent wait at TSA was too surreal for 2025. Corporate sponsors, floodgates wide open, and yes, competitors are feeling the G-force. This curve isn't just steep, it's vertical. Greatness doesn't breed consensus, it splits rooms. Think Jordan, Serena, Tiger, prime LeBron. The WNBA has long pleaded for national relevance. Clark didn't knock, she kicked in the door. Every standing ovation and every cheap shot proved the same truth. Indifference is dead. Sure, the league can fix officiating, marketing, revenue sharing, but you can't manufacture obsession. Clark sparked it instantly. Here's the catch. Turning one rookie into a cultural supernova risks making her both savior and scapegoat. The league has to scale without self-sabotage. Protect her body, spotlight the veterans who laid the groundwork. Tell more than one story. That means faster reviews, a real marketing budget, and charter flights for all, not just the Clark Express. The NBA learned this lesson the hard way during the LeBron fatigue era. The W can take notes now. Steph's compliments matter, but Clark's destiny isn't to become the women's Steph. It's to become the first Caitlin Clark, blending Curry's range, Magic's court vision, and Mahomes' cultural spark. That fusion can't be imitated. It must be forged under a harsher glare than her predecessors ever faced.
This is a fake, one-sided rivalry. We got Angel Reese taking more shots at Caitlin Clark unnecessarily. You in Indiana having a great time partying. We see all the clips. Why can't you just do your thing?
Angel Reese launched her shoe campaign during WNBA All-Star Weekend, aiming for the spotlight. But Caitlin Clark got injured, ticket prices crashed 48%, and interest vanished. Reese ended up performing for no one. Now we break down how it all went wrong.
But can Sarah Spain and the media stop going out there and saying that, Caitlin Clark needs to do something to stop all this, when it is very clear this is a one-sided beef, and the one-sided beef is not from Caitlin Clark?
Everyone thought this All-Star Weekend would be the breakthrough for women's basketball. It was supposed to be Clark versus Reese in Indy, packed arenas, screaming fans, and record viewership that would finally force ESPN to care. It had all the makings of a Hollywood moment.
We do start our show, though, with unfortunate news out of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark announced today that she will miss both the three-point contest and the WNBA All-Star Game this upcoming weekend in Indiana after re-aggravating a groin injury in that final minute of Tuesday's win over the Connecticut Sun. Clark had missed 4 games and the Commissioner's Cup final with that groin injury earlier this month, and now will be out for this weekend's festivities, which really stinks for fans, but you know that if there was any way that she could be out.
Then came the shock. Clark's groin injury, announced days before the weekend. Everything unraveled. Fans had flown in just to see her. Hotels were packed, restaurants bracing for crowds. Sponsors banked on the Clark-Reese rivalry. Nike had drops ready. ESPN called it must-see TV.
It's a story we have been following throughout the past 2 days, surrounds the superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. She's going to miss all the action on the court.
Clark's home state was set to be her stage. Indiana fans were ready to pack Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The hometown hero narrative was perfect, but once her injury hit social media, the hype collapsed, marketing wobbled, and the storyline vanished. The buzz just deflated.
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star game, they've dropped by 50%.
This wasn't just any injury. Clark brought casual fans and real attention to the WNBA. Without her, the league lost its main draw. What was a celebration became a reminder of fragile momentum. Everything hinged on her showing up, and when she didn't, the spotlight faded.
But when it comes to the vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was healthy.
What was meant to be a celebration of women's basketball turned into a wake-up call for the league's growing pains. While Clark dealt with a real injury and left fans heartbroken, someone else saw a chance to grab the spotlight, turning the weekend into a personal stage.
Reebok, Angel Reese are taking shots at Caitlin Clark, using her as promo. Angel Reese, let's be clear here. Let's just be all the way clear here. Angel Reese is a solid basketball player. Angel Reese 100% has benefited from attaching herself to Caitlin Clark at every single turn. Her podcast, the first 3 episodes, all the clips promoting was bringing up Caitlin Clark. It was bringing up Caitlin Clark and all of the promo. People wanted to know what she was going to say. She used Caitlin Clark as promo.
Now picture this, dropping your biggest marketing campaign in your rival's hometown while she's sidelined and can't even show up. That's what Angel Reese did with her I'm in Your City campaign during All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis. Her Reebok shoe launch came with bold billboards, aggressive social media, and a message that felt like a takeover in Clark's own backyard.
Angel Reese, I'm in your city. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. Post it on Instagram. There's about 15 fans there, and Reebok put up a board. You would expect Reebok to put up a board. Let's never forget that when let's never forget the gigantic Caitlin Clark Nike billboard in Chicago. Let's never forget that. So if Reebok didn't put up a board for Angel Reese,
the timing was either terrible or perfectly calculated, depending on your angle. Reese's team built the whole campaign around being in Indianapolis, fully aware it was Clark's home turf. This wasn't just a shoe launch, it was a statement dropped deep in rival territory.
Is you continue to take shots at her, and then when them shots get fired back, nobody likes it. We don't have no videos of Caitlin Clark really taking shots at Angel Reese. Look at what Angel Reese and Reebok are doing for views. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. This is promo they're doing in Indianapolis, where Caitlin Clark plays. That is a clear shot. It's a clear shot. Like I said, this is a fake rivalry. I think you've won one game versus Caitlin Clark. You've never won in Indiana at all. It's just like you continue to attach yourself to her at every turn and use her as promo.
Let's be real. Reese flooded social media with walk in your trap, take over your trap messaging, even backing it with Bankroll Fresh's Take Over Your Trap on her Instagram story. But with Clark sidelined, it came off like she was claiming a win by default. Social media didn't hold back. Some fans called it savvy marketing, but way more saw it as tone-deaf and classless. The reaction? A mix of light jabs and serious criticism, all focused on the questionable timing.
Caitlin Clark has never said a negative word about Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark has never said a negative word, or to be honest, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, she did show it by her actions. She didn't need to say, I'm taking over Chicago. She did, however, go and put up 31 and 12, set a career high with 12 assists, be the only player in the history of the WNBA ever to have 31 and 12 in a game. She did, in fact, do that and then try to hype up the Chicago crowd. So it's fair enough, you want to say, oh, Caitlin Clark did this, then show it with your actions. Go and win MVP. Don't just be like, this is my city. Don't just come in and be like, this is my city. You've never won a game. Has she won a game in Indiana? I don't think she's ever won a game in Indiana. I actually do not think she has won a pro game in Indiana.
Here's where it got interesting. Reese didn't back off when Clark's absence was confirmed. While other players showed respect and dialed down the competition, Reese pushed her campaign full throttle. The contrast was clear. Most All-Stars were there to celebrate the league. Reese, meanwhile, seemed focused on fueling a rivalry with someone who couldn't even suit up.
Now with Reebok she's using, this is nonstop. She has attached herself to Caitlin Clark at every single turn, and she has benefited. Let's be clear here. Yes, she does receive backlash. She does receive negativity, but she has benefited greatly. She has made millions of dollars off of attaching herself to Caitlin Clark and using her to make her brand bigger.
What was meant as a bold flex looked like a win by default. Claiming someone's city while they're injured isn't competition, it's opportunism. One analyst called it a one-sided rivalry. Reese swung at the air while Clark faced real setbacks. The backlash, it showed in the numbers.
This is absolutely a one-sided rivalry. And we've got to say it like it is. Like, we can't say Caitlin needs to do this, Caitlin needs to do that. Let's be real. The only reason this is still a rivalry is because the other side of the rivalry won't stop it. And by the way, it is extremely beneficial for Angel Reese to be in this rivalry.
Want to see Clark's impact? Look at the numbers. Ticket prices crashed from $121 to $64, a 48% drop. It wasn't minor. The market shouted her value. TickPick had the game set for a $262 average until her injury. That record-setting hype? Gone, along with Reese's credibility.
And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout. This was conveyed with a July 18th post from NBA Central that wrote, quote, "The get-in price for the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis has dropped 48%. From $121 a ticket to $64 a ticket after the news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing."
Clark's impact is superstar economics. When she missed games in May, ticket resale prices dropped 47% in DC and 71% in Chicago. Unheard of. Sponsors scrambled, WNBA packages sold out, arenas filled fast. But without Clark, all that planning felt shaky.
From $121 all the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done. I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. She's injured. I have no interest in that anymore.
Clark's absence rippled far beyond the arena. Merch sales, concessions, and hotel bookings in Indy all took a hit. Local businesses had prepped for a tourism surge. Restaurants stocked up, hotels sold out. But without Clark, the crowds never came. It exposed the WNBA's dependence on one player. Having a star like her is a massive boost, but it's also risky. When she's out, the whole structure shakes. No other WNBA player moves the needle like Caitlin Clark.
I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes. And then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why. But the offense, I think, for us, it starts on defense. And we, struggled, scouting report-wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us. And then, overall, we just played with more energy and effort, and those are the things that just can't happen.
After a humiliating 80-61 loss to the expansion Valkyries, marking their second defeat by the newcomers, Fever coach Stephanie White threw her entire team under the bus, just as Caitlin Clark returned from injury and fans packed Gainbridge Fieldhouse with high hopes. Fresh off stunning wins against Aja Wilson's Aces and Nafisa Collier's Lynx, the Fever crumbled, and White's puzzling in-game calls only deepened the shock. But instead of owning the collapse, White deflected blame post-game, sparking one burning question. Is this the leadership the Fever needs?
So we have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right. she also need to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
Just last week, the Fever were flying high, hoisting their first Commissioner's Cup, crushing Asia Wilson's Aces, outclassing Nafisa Collier's Lynx, and finally looking like a team destined for greatness. The chemistry was electric, their identity locked in, and the future blindingly bright.
You know, it's honestly been hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult, you know, going to prepare for games, but knowing you're not going to be playing in them, you know, and I think just reminding myself of, you know, my abilities and what I've been able to do in this league, even though I've been sitting out, and, you know, just trying to be a great teammate, be a great leader, even though I've been on the bench, and serve my teammates in that way.
Then came July 9th, Caitlin Clark's much-hyped return from injury, a moment meant to be triumphant after missing 5 games, including the Fever's cup-clinching win. Hype soared. The crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse was electric, and fans braced for fireworks. Instead, celebration turned to disbelief.
I think it's given me great perspective on what other people have gone through their career, and, you know, like you said, I've been fortunate enough to never really been injured, and I play a lot of minutes usually, so I think it gives me good perspective, not only for people that are injured, but, you know, some of your teammates that may not be getting the minutes that they want to get, and I think I can use that experience to be a better leader, to be a better teammate, but also it's like challenged me mentally. I think, you know, it's really hard to stop and go, and especially when you're not feeling your best. So just trying to get my body as healthy as I can be and remain confident in myself, and then do everything I can once I step back out on the court to help us win.
Instead, fans witnessed a nightmare, an 80-61 beatdown by the expansion Valkyries, who played like seasoned pros while the Fever unraveled on their own floor. What should have been a triumphant homecoming turned into a painful repeat, with Caitlin Clark's return falling flat as the team shot a dismal 31% and hit just 6 of 27 from deep. The crisp, confident offense that fueled their recent title vanished, replaced by sluggish ball movement and broken rhythm.
Bentley lays that one in. Look at the attack, how quickly up the floor. And Clark hits a 3. The Fever have hit.
The Fever managed just 19 points across the second and fourth quarters, 19, and surrendered 10 offensive rebounds in the second half, allowing the Valkyries endless second chances. What began as a celebration spiraled into a collapse, the energy in Gainbridge Fieldhouse draining with every missed shot and defensive breakdown. Fans watched in disbelief as their team unraveled, and even Caitlin Clark admitted, "We started really well, and then when they went on their first run, it kind of deflated us," which I'm not really sure why.
You know, it's every single person on our team, and, you know, nobody played well today, and, you know, you should look yourself in the mirror and find ways where you can get better, and come back to practice tomorrow and then play again on Friday.
This wasn't just a bad night. It was a complete system failure that revealed deeper issues. The same team riding a winning streak days earlier suddenly looked lost, like they'd forgotten how to play. But the real blow came after the final buzzer, when the finger pointing started.
And I think collectively we didn't do a good job at taking away the stuff that their team likes to do and making them do things they don't want to do. We didn't do a good job of that. We also gave up some timely offensive rebounds that they do a great job of kicking it out, getting open looks, getting open threes late in the game. I think it really just comes down to effort and us not locking in mentally and following the scouting report.
Here's where it gets frustrating. Stephanie White benched Lexi Hull, one of the team's most reliable defenders and three-point shooters. Hull had started most of the season and complemented Clark perfectly with her spacing and defense. But White abandoned that.
So we have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it. She was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right. She also need to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
Instead, she started Ari McDonald at point guard, the spark plug while Clark was out, which pushed Clark to play off-ball at small forward. How do you not let a generational talent play her natural position? Clark is a point guard. That's where she creates magic and controls the game. White took that away from her.
What did you like about Caitlin and Aries starting the game together and Lexi coming off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I like the ability to have two primary ball handlers on the floor, particularly with a team that comes aggressively, in the two-man game. Being able to play off of one another, being able to give the opponent some different looks, and quite frankly, for C specifically, not having to have her play under duress 94 feet the entire time she's on the floor. So there were some things that we liked about it. There are some things that we don't. So we'll continue to work with that.
The offense stalled almost right away. Clark couldn't find her rhythm, and everything looked clunky. She needed the ball to create, but Coach Stephanie White had her running around setting screens. Their styles just didn't fit. One analyst even said it looked like they hadn't practiced this lineup at all.
Look, she can give her different looks. It could turn into something beautiful. I'm excited to see both of them on the floor together because they can create shots for one another. But it didn't happen today. So you should have made the adjustments once the offense looked so stagnant, looked so lost, discoordinated. You should have went ahead and changed that.
Hull was key to the team's success. Her spacing, shooting, and defense made everything click. But when White benched her, the team lost its identity. The Valkyries pounced as the Fever's new lineup struggled. Ball movement vanished, the offense turned predictable, and players forced tough shots. Everything that once worked was gone.
So what happened? The Fever? Slow it down! They get into the beautiful motion offense we've all been in love with since the start of the season. Oh, pass, screen away. Oh, what a thing of beauty. Pass, screen away. Oh my goodness. Did you see how Kelsey Mitchell just set that screen? Mwah! Magnificent. And the Valkyrie, Natalie Nakase, and the crew, they said, oh, now's our time to strike. So over the remainder of the first quarter, the whole entire second quarter, after being up 20-11 with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, the Golden State Valkyrie proceed to go on a 30-12 run for the next 13 minutes.
Worse, White limited Clark's minutes just when the team needed her most. It was her first game back from injury, the offense was struggling, and the crowd was restless. But White kept her sidelined. Every time Clark sat, the momentum vanished. The stagnant offense hurt most. They couldn't create easy looks and settled for contested shots instead of finding open ones for shooters like Hull and Mitchell. The smooth, flowing offense from weeks ago looked completely broken.
I would say we can do better than the motion offense when Caitlin Clark's on the bench. We can utilize Kelsey. We can utilize AB. We can utilize Aerie. We can do things. But no. Caitlin Clark was a decoy for many parts of this game. Majority of this game, dare I say. She didn't seem like a threat, other than when the ball was in her hands, which Stephanie White literally has a heart attack. It says, no, Caitlin, no! Too many assists, stop! Too much facilitating, cut it out!
These weren't minor tweaks. They were major changes that wrecked the team's identity. White shuffled the starting lineup, moved Clark out of position, and benched one of their most reliable players. The result? A 19-point loss to an expansion team. But her post-game comments did even more damage. At the podium, White stunned fans and analysts by looking into the cameras and blaming her players for the blowout.
I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. With the exception of about 2 5-minute spurts. Our attention to detail was poor. I'm not sure if it's not knowing the game plan as much as, because if it's not knowing the game plan, then that's a whole nother conversation, as much as not executing the game plan.
White said, I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. And she didn't stop there. She kept criticizing her team's effort.
I'd say discipline more so than focus. I think this is a group that focuses. But you can focus, and then you have to be able to go out and be disciplined enough to execute it, right? I'm not sure. We're as coaches, that's our job to figure it out. why it is. You've seen it in spurts. You've seen it in moments. You've seen it with certain lineups. So finding those lineups that we've seen it with consistently and maybe keeping those together.
Here's the problem. White took no responsibility for her own decisions. No mention of benching Hull, no explanation for the failed McDonald experiment. She acted like her coaching had nothing to do with the loss, blaming everyone but herself.
It doesn't take much. There's other ways. But to give up your defensive presence just to mitigate that? Come on, man. To give up your defensive presence, Lexi Hull, somebody who hustles to get rebounds, right? Hustles to get the rebounds. She had like 7 to 8 rebounds. 7 to 8 rebounds, man. We're going to look at the stats. But she was hustling.
Meanwhile, Clark took ownership in her interview. She acknowledged the offensive struggles and said, "I thought we started really well. But the offense, I think for us, like it starts on defense. And we struggled, scouting report-wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us." She took responsibility for the team's failures. The contrast was clear. Clark showed maturity while the coach pointed fingers. She didn't blame anyone else. She looked for solutions, not excuses.
Our team, we have a lot of inconsistency. We raise to the occasion when we're playing for 30,000, and then we need to bring that level of focus and that level of energy every single day. It's really hard to win in this league, and I think, we need to focus every game because all of these games matter when September, October comes. So it's really just going to come to us, and we really need to regroup, turn the page, learn from this, and come with a better mindset on Friday.
One analyst said it best. Clearly, her philosophy on basketball does not suit Caitlin Clark, raising real doubts about whether the two can coexist. It's a clash of styles. White's rigid control versus Clark's creative freedom. As another analyst put it, the Fever are getting very close to having to make a choice. Stephanie White or Caitlin Clark? How can this team succeed when the coach won't own her mistakes?
Well, many of you have probably been waiting on this, as have I. But the WNBA All-Star Game ratings have come out, and all I could think of right off the bat was 4 little letters. F-A-F-O. F around and find out.
JC Sheldon's hit on Caitlin Clark's groin sidelined the WNBA's biggest star during a crucial week and triggered a financial crisis the league is trying to conceal. The All-Star Game became a ratings flop, but the WNBA remains in denial. The link is clear, exposing the league's real priorities. So how badly did ratings fall without Clark? And what did the commissioner say?
We have numbers for the most exciting, entertaining, overwhelmed with joy WNBA All-Star Game we have seen in quite some time. We have ratings for that disaster as well. There's good news and there's bad news.
So what started this? On July 13th, JC Sheldon drove her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin during what should have been a routine play. Clark doubled over in pain. Referees saw it and did nothing. No call, no review. Footage shows how direct the contact was. Clark's grimace, her reaction, it wasn't accidental. It was a targeted hit that went unpunished.
These referees was completely ridiculous. The referees was a complete disaster.
And immediately grabbed the inside of that right leg.
This wasn't the first time. All season, Clark has taken elbows, blindside hits, eye pokes, and hard fouls that others wouldn't. The pattern is clear. Players target her, and refs let it slide. It's open season on the league's biggest star.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls. But then when it's the Indiana Fever, guess what? Touch foul here, touch foul here. They call absolutely nothing.
When news broke that Clark was out of the All-Star game, social media erupted. Fans blamed Sheldon's dirty play, but the real shock was the ticket prices. An instant, devastating financial hit.
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star game, they've dropped by 50%.
Before Clark's injury, the All-Star game was set for record ticket prices, averaging $262, with the cheapest at $121. It was the league's biggest payday until it wasn't. After the news, the get-in price plunged to $64, a 48% drop. Fans dumped tickets, unwilling to attend without Clark.
You bleep around and find out what this league looks like without Caitlin Clark being involved in your biggest events. Kathy Engelbert, this should be a perfect example of why you need to get your officiating cleaned up, and you need to have a talk with your players in the league. And nobody's asking you to hold Caitlin Clark's hand. Just play fair.
You know what this proves? The refs didn't just fail to protect Clark. They cost the league hundreds of thousands in ticket revenue. One missed call turned the WNBA's biggest event into a financial mess. And it exposed just how much the league depends on Clark.
You see, this is exactly what we were talking about. WNBA All-Star ratings are in for 2025, and it is down 40%. 40% from last year. That's bad. That is really bad. We already watched the ticket prices drop by more than 50% because Caitlin Clark was not playing. This is bad news for the WNBA, and this should be a wake-up call.
For the first time all season, Gainbridge Fieldhouse had empty seats during a major WNBA event. It was All-Star Weekend, yet patches of vacant chairs replaced the usual sea of Clark jerseys. Her absence sparked a fan boycott the league couldn't hide. Every Fever home game had sold out until now.
It's clear fans sent a blatant message, a shot across thou bow. All right? And your ship, well, without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA and all their pay us what you owe us action, that action will sink. That action will sink.
Clark brings more than crowds. She creates full-scale events. From packed restaurants to sold-out hotels, her presence transforms cities. When she was ruled out, fans flooded resale sites, taking big losses just to avoid a Clarkless game. Merch sales dropped, concession stands were overstocked, and local businesses lost major revenue.
But when it comes to the vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was healthy.
Let's be real. This revealed what the league tried to hide. Without Clark, WNBA games are just regular matchups most fans skip. Even with stars like Wilson and Ionescu, interest tanked. But the worst was coming. TV ratings would soon show how many millions tuned out without Clark.
The ratings fell tremendously, and it was an awful game. So that large percent of people who did not watch, they probably had a better Saturday than everybody else. We just got to be real. It was a glorified 4-point shooting contest in a layup line. It was terrible. It was a terrible product, and you guys should have taken it personal to show the world what you can do and show the world you are more than just Caitlin Clark, because the ticket prices dropped once it got announced that she wasn't playing.
The All-Star flop confirmed what everyone knew, but the WNBA won't admit it. Ratings fell 36%, from 3.44 million in 2024 to 2.19 million in 2025, proving fans tune in for Caitlin Clark, not the league. Without her, promo efforts failed. It's not about basketball, it's about star power, and only Clark has it.
We talk about leading up to this. The officiating, I think enough fans had it up to here with the league as a whole. People had it up to here. You got to understand. Caitlin Clark is getting beat up in these games. The refs aren't calling anything. Kathy Engelbert seems to have air between both of her ears. She seems to have pure air floating between her ears. And I think people are fed up. They were fed up with it.
What made it worse? The pay us what you owe us stunt backfired. Warm-up shirts sparked online backlash, seen as tone-deaf entitlement. Players demanded more money while the one driving revenue, Clark, sat injured. Fans saw through it, knowing exactly who powers the league.
It's not about one person, no matter how many times WNBA and Kathy Engelbert say so. That's virtue signaling in the most disingenuous form. It's Caitlin Clark. As soon as they educate the players on how to deal with this, not as petty, jealous petty hags, all will be better off. Yeah. Pay us what you owe us, they displayed on their shirts. Okay. First, they have to give the money back. They can receive smaller paychecks than they currently receive. Yikes.
The viewership data reveals a harsh truth the WNBA can't spin. Regular games with Clark outdrew the All-Star game. Sky vs. Fever got 2.7 million, Liberty vs. Fever 2.22 million, and Fever vs. Liberty 2.2 million. Clark's presence means more than the league's top event. The Liberty know it too, meeting with Clark and her agent. Smart teams build around generational talent, while others pretend veterans can match her impact. Clark's rise highlights a reality many in the league find uncomfortable.
And Indiana has done it! Their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship, knocking off the Minnesota Lynx. This is Howard setting up McDonald, knocking down the tray. Finds it cutting McDonald, easy deuce.
You won't believe what the Indiana Fever just pulled off. Missing their biggest star, Caitlin Clark, seemingly abandoned by veteran DeWanna Bonner, and staring down the league's most dominant squad in the Minnesota Lynx, they were all but written off. With MVP frontrunner Nafisa Collier leading the charge, this was supposed to be a Lynx coronation, not a contest. But the Fever flipped the script and delivered a jaw-dropping display of grit, unity, and sheer willpower. Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Natasha Howard lit up the court, turning a sure loss into a seismic statement. This wasn't just an upset, it was a defining moment. And when Caitlin Clark spoke after the buzzer, her 6 simple words perfectly captured why this victory will echo far beyond the final score. Picture this, the Indiana Fever walking into the Target Center for their first ever Commissioner's Cup final, with their roster barely holding together. Caitlin Clark, the superstar sophomore who had been the engine of this team all season long, sat on the bench for the 3rd straight game, sidelined by a stubborn groin injury that refused to heal. And this wasn't just any absence. This was their top scorer, their floor general, their national sensation, the player who filled arenas coast to coast, the spark behind every highlight, the heartbeat of a franchise chasing its moment in the spotlight.
With Caitlin and her status, just how did she look? How did she feel today during shoot-around? And is she making progress and getting closer playing?
She's making progress. You know, I think, again, top of mind, I think I told you this afternoon, is just long-term. You know, making sure that we don't have any setbacks, you know, making progress and feeling good. two different things, and we want to make sure that she feels good. We want to make sure that she's confident. We want to make sure that we're not putting her in a position to have any setbacks, and that's the priority right now.
But the Fever's challenges didn't stop there. Damiris Dantas was thousands of miles away, competing in the FIBA AmeriCup, leaving a huge gap in an already stretched rotation. Her absence meant no veteran grit, no inside toughness, and one less weapon in a game where every possession mattered.
Hey, Fever, I miss you.
Then came the DeWanna Bonner situation that left everyone stunned. This was the veteran the Fever brought in during the offseason to bring leadership, stability, and a championship mindset. And what did she do? She walked away after just 9 games, leaving the team reeling and eventually getting waived. It felt like the ultimate betrayal, abandoning your teammates right when they needed you the most, in the middle of a season hanging by a thread.
DeWanna Bonner was brought in for leadership. She was brought in for leadership. And do you want to know all that these young players learned from her? If things don't go your way, refuse to show up. Continue to get paid a max contract while you are sitting out, refusing to play.
She got benched. She couldn't handle it. I want out. She's not playing well. She's getting criticized. I want out.
Now, let's talk about the mountain they were up against. The Minnesota Lynx. This wasn't just a strong team. This was a juggernaut. With a 14-1 record heading into the final, they were the best squad in the entire WNBA. They were the reigning Commissioner's Cup champions, playing on their home floor, backed by a sold-out crowd, and led by MVP frontrunner Nafisa Collier. The atmosphere was electric. The outcome, according to just about everyone, already decided. Vegas had the Lynx favored by 14 points. Pundits called it a mismatch, a guaranteed blowout. Without their stars, Indiana wasn't just an underdog. They were being treated like they didn't even belong on the same court.
They look pretty flawless, in the way that they're playing. I don't know if different is the word as much as they look even more connected. They're a team that was connected a year ago, but really the nuance of having each other's back on the defensive end, of knowing where your teammate's going to be, discipline to coverages, the connectivity that they have on the offensive end of the floor. I mean, the way that they move with and without the ball, the way that the ball moves makes it really tough to cover. I often say that offense is like a dance, and they are flowing, man. They are making music, and there's no doubt about it. So we have to try to be disruptive, and we have to try to take them out of that rhythm.
Here's where it got brutally tough for the Fever. This was supposed to be their moment, their first ever Commissioner's Cup final, and instead, everything that could possibly go wrong did. Their stars were out, their depth was gutted, and the pressure was suffocating. The players who remained knew the spotlight was glaring down on them, with every critic just waiting for them to collapse. It was David versus Goliath, except this David had a busted slingshot, a fractured lineup, and the sinking feeling that half the army had already walked off the battlefield. Here's where things really started to unravel. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever looked like a shell of the team fans had fallen in love with. They had dropped 3 of their last 5 games leading into the Commissioner's Cup final, blowing double-digit leads that should have been locked-in victories. Their offense, once fast and fluid, ground to a halt, stripping away the rhythm that made them such a threat. Ball movement vanished. Players abandoned the system and started going one-on-one, forcing bad shots instead of finding the open teammate. You could see it unraveling play by play, a team losing its identity right before your eyes. This wasn't the thrilling, cohesive unit that had packed arenas and sparked headlines all year long.
Coach, this is your first season with this batch of players, and so I'm just wondering if the Commissioner's Cup is just a stepping stone for greater things to come.
Well, I hope so. But at the same time, we want to take care of business now, right? We want to win a cup. So we're not looking at it necessarily as a stepping stone. We're looking at it as an opportunity to win. And then we're looking at it, as coaches, as an opportunity to continue to stack days. We haven't had a lot of consistency in our lineup, and so we haven't really built that camaraderie and connectedness that we need in order for us to be successful. But we can take another step towards growth, another step towards consistency on the floor, in execution, in energy level. We're playing the best team in the league right now, and we've got to come out and we got to play our A game.
Let's talk about Aaliyah Boston, a dominant force when used right, but in the games leading up to the final, she was left stranded. She'd carve out perfect position in the paint, ready to go to work, only to watch her teammates hoist up contested threes instead of feeding her the ball. Boston thrives when the offense runs through her, but without the right passes, her impact was stifled. You could see the frustration written all over her face. The team's identity crumbled without their floor general. Caitlin Clark wasn't just the scorer or assist leader. She was the conductor, the voice that kept the offense humming and the ball moving. Without her, the Fever looked disjointed, unsure of who they were. Opponents noticed too. Defenses locked in on Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, no longer fearing Clark's ability to disrupt their schemes, and it showed in every possession.
What are some of the keys that you see as to how exactly you're going to do that, or what you guys need to do to approach the game successfully?
Yeah, I think we've got to be disruptive. We've got to make sure that we play with a level of physicality that doesn't allow them to just pass the ball around where everywhere that they want to pass it. So we've got to make sure that we're disruptive. We got to make sure that we're elite at our on ball screen defense. This is a team that reads really well, that moves really well. We got to be elite at the point of attack on ball screen defense. We've got to. We always talk about guarding our yard, being able to guard one-on-one, so we're not in rotation early. I think for us, it's going to have to start on the defensive end of the floor, so that allows us to get out and run in transition as well. But we can't allow them to just do exactly what they want to do on the offensive end.
This Commissioner's Cup game turned into the ultimate gut check for the entire squad. Could they crack the code to winning hoops without their superstar? Could they revive the ball movement and chemistry that once made them click like a highlight reel? That uphill battle made what happened next not just surprising, but downright legendary.